All right.
Better than Skeleton Knight if you want more world building, that's for sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Toast. Now we move on to Dark. What do you have for us? Dark is dead.
Ooh, I was
You know what's
muted. I have a
Oh hell
little
yeah.
series from Games. It's
Yes, this is
called
actually interesting because it's not um other than Uma Musume and like one other series, right? What Side Games hasn't done much, right? If I remember correctly.
as far as animating? No,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
like
don't
actual
believe so. Let
anime.
me see. Games
And
Pictures.
like, I guess even like just trailers in general and stuff like that. But
So they helped with U149, or did they do all of U149?
which one? Which
They did
did
all of
they do? You
U149. Yeah, they did all of it.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I
Oh,
forgot. Yeah,
because
we
I
covered that.
the reason why I mentioned this was I thought this series that you were gonna cover was going to be sort of their proof of concept, right? It was one of their sort
No,
of
I
hey,
think
we
this
can
is
do
their.
all
Well,
this crap.
I think this is their
Oh,
big
their
one for
3D.
like
It's
for
their 3D
3D for
CG
sure.
proof of
Yeah,
concept.
this is
Yes, yes,
their.
yes, yes.
This is
They
them
because
being
they've
like,
mentioned that. Yeah,
yeah, this is them being like, yeah, we can do CG. And
we
spoiler
have our
alert, they
3D
can.
in-house dicks. Yeah.
So yeah, so this is from Side Games Pictures. This is apparently this says the source is original.
Yeah,
However,
no,
I've
it is an
heard
original. It's an anime original.
that there
Yeah.
is a Brave series. So
What
I
does
don't
that
Then
know
even
if
mean
this is
though?
tied into it.
no.
No,
No, no, no, no.
that
No, no,
this
no.
might be like tied into something like a really old IP.
So no,
I
yeah,
could be
there
wrong.
is a no, no. No. So what it is that there is a very I think there uh, I think there's an artist I think called Kama who had like series design like old mecha designs that he liked to make a long time ago, and they took that and created an entire series off of it. It's kind of like this is
Oh, okay.
not a very respectful comparison. I apologize
I know
in
exactly what
advance.
you're about to say.
But it's like mini skirt pirates, right? Like they
Yeah.
were just like, oh shit, mini skirt pirates, and then they made an entire series off that. But it's similar to that, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say to get ahead of this, I would recommend checking this out regardless.
Yes, I would too.
Without spoilers. However, what was really interesting was, as far as I remember, the PV, and this is getting into spoilers now. The PV never showed any of this. Neither does this picture that I used, or the like title picture or anything. Um, but so this series opens up with being a very much a military like mecha series, right? You have our two main
Mm.
characters, part of like a global defense force thing, um, like basically fucking like a UN with mechs.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, by
and
the way, sorry
our
to
two
interrupt.
mains,
Did you ever mention the full name of the series?
yeah,
I
yeah, it's
think we should. Yeah.
Bang Bravern.
Yes, yes.
Um,
I keep fucking up this name, so I just apologize. I just wanted to get it out of the way. Again, also known in Japanese as Yuki Bakatsuban Braver. So yeah, please do go ahead. Sorry.
but yeah, so our two main characters are running a drill, Lewis Smith and Isami Ao. And obviously Isami is Japanese, Smith is an
Yeah.
American. And they're
They
doing
act
like a
like a
joint,
Japanese and American, the
yeah,
stereotypical ones. Yeah.
yeah, and it's kind of great. So they're
Yeah,
doing
it's
like
pretty good.
they're doing this whole like drill essentially in their mechs. Isami like essentially shows himself to be like a really advanced pilot. Um, and Smith like kind of doesn't want to fall behind. Now,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in the middle of this, however, a big old pillar from space comes flying in, and then aliens just decimate them.
Yes.
Alien space things, like they're like inorganic life forms. They shoot lasers, and a big pillar kind of wipes them out essentially. And so as the survivors are scrambling, Isami is trying to get one of his squad mates out of her mech before they get, blasted by a laser beam. And then a big super robot comes down in front of him and says, "You should pilot me."
Get
And
inside of me.
yeah, get inside. Well, actually, yeah, I believe his exact words were "get inside of
Yeah.
me." And so that is Bravern. That is the super robot Bravern, and then the series turns into a super robot series. Bravern is a very much he's a very
Bombastic.
stereotypical like hero type. Like he is
It's like one of
exactly
those
what you would
old
expect.
cheesy, like, I'm
Yes.
freaking braver. Yeah, it's bombastic, is
Yeah.
what I would say it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a golden age like hero type
Yep.
thing. Except all of his dialogue is extremely, extremely like gay innuendos. Um, and it's very I enjoy it a lot. I think it's very funny.
It's pretty good. It's
Um,
a very distinct contrast from a lot. Obviously, we have a lot of, Sentai stuff, whatever these days, but we still have a very strong current of like Sentai up to this day. But it's a very different contrast from a lot of these other series where it's like all serious, and even in the West, you have stuff like Optimus Prime, Transformers stuff where they're all like, "Oh, we're the Autobots. We gotta, um, we got to do all the serious stuff." And this is a very conscious and distinct turn away from that, essentially.
yeah, this is basically pulling a lot of the characters themselves in the same way out of the quote unquote what you would consider like the real world and then
Mm.
throwing them into a super robot series essentially with a lot of the
Yeah.
ways they react, a lot of the ways they have to now interact with Bravern.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, from there, there's a lot of like, Isami not being sure if he wants to be the hero,
Mm.
not like having to deal with the pressure of being the
Mm.
hero. Smith having a Smith hasn't really had like a jealousy arc, and I don't think he's going to. He's
Yeah.
just kind of in
Yeah.
awe of Bravern, because
Yeah.
Smith's backstory essentially is that he is a Tokusatsu nerd.
Yeah. It's
He
a little bit
fucking loves
unfortunate.
Tokusatsu.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate because it's clear that they want to keep Smith in as a very prominent deuteragonist, doing deuteragonist stuff and helping out in the development of the story, but they're not sure where to go with them without invoking, as you said, the stereotypical, why does Isami got to be the hero? Without invoking
Yeah,
that sort of stereotypical arc. And I don't think they want to touch upon that. But obviously, if they don't do that and they just have him as the very innocent wingman, it becomes much harder to develop organically. There are obviously a couple of routes out where um he can not be jealous, but he can still keep facing difficulties and he can just kind of organically grow past that.
yeah. And
But
so
it is hard. Yeah.
what I think they've done, especially with the most recent episode, they kind of put Smith in this spot where he is like sort of the ultimate wingman, trying to be a hero in his own way. He's a part of now. He's got like a much more advanced mech,
Yeah.
as does like this other core team. And so I think they're kind of like putting him there, and then I think he's going to get another upgrade, based on an alien girl that he finds named Lulu.
Mhm.
And so like obviously like, they butt heads with each other, Smith and Isami. And I think like the big shtick, like kind of like the replacement for the jealousy arc was an arc that they do with Smith helping Isami uh overcome like the pressure of being a hero. Like the pressure of being
Right,
the
right.
hero.
Yeah, I
And so I
really
think they
like
kind of
this
put that
because
in place.
yeah. Yeah, I really do like this, although again, I think they probably will need to how do I say this? Mess with Lewis Smith's development in the story or whatever a little bit. Although half
Yeah,
of
I
this
mean
also, like, our discussion also doesn't matter as much because the point of this series, as it seems very obvious to everybody, is not really the story. It's more just doing mech
I mean,
stuff
it's
and then
corny.
just doing
It's
whatever. Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. It's
it's
supposed to be corny.
incredibly corny.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I
yeah. It's
really
supposed to
like
be
how
like that.
fucking corny it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
they literally so basically what happens is Bravern after liberating the Hawaiian Islands that they were on, doing their training,
yeah.
and fighting Superbia, another like super robot, like the evil one of the
Yeah.
evil super robots. Um, he's like, all right, we gotta like, how should we liberate the rest of the world now, right? Because these pillars landed all over the world.
Mm.
And so they make the decision that they're going to travel east with the rising sun, and liberate like Japan first, because Bravern's whole plan hinges on, wouldn't it be really sick? He's like, don't get me wrong, coming in at the last second with the setting sun, that's pretty badass. But coming in with the rising sun is also really sick. I think we should go with the rising sun, and then we save and then we save the setting sun for last. um
Godlike, to be
yeah, and
honest.
so that's the plan. They are now
Yeah,
traveling around the globe, with their forces, surrounding by Braver and picking up people along the way, to
yeah.
liberate the rest of the planet from, the evil robot menace.
They also have
Um,
like very like they'll do say 10 minutes straight of relatively serious stuff, right? And then in after those 10 minutes, they'll immediately have about 5 seconds, 2 to 5 seconds of this moment where suddenly somebody just goes full Marvel, just like says something whack, like comical. And that is a very interesting addition because you you kind of don't expect it, but you're also like, okay, all right, I'll give it up, kind of at parts. So it
yeah, I
is
mean,
interesting how
especially with the
they kind of split it
role.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially with the role that Bravern plays, obviously, because there is still the backdrop of like the world being decimated by these aliens.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but they still do center it around like in that sort of grimness. Like here is the super robot. Here is Bravern. Like here is the shining beacon of hope, essentially in every
Exactly.
way. Even in the fact that when Bravern fights, when Bravern poses, he literally has a hologram behind him that brings up his logo, that is in universe, that is not just in shots of Bravern, like cuts of Bravern. Actually, let me bring up a picture of him. But that is not like Bravern's logo coming in behind his back, like when he fully transforms, like out of his like plane mode. Like there are scenes in the show where that is there behind him, right? Like Bravern is literally a super robot in the actual like in universe. And played up as that. He has his theme song, like the OP plays in his cockpit, as he fights. So, there's a lot of really fun stuff like that. Um, and yeah, I would say there's not a whole lot else to say about the story right now. It seems like they are going to be fighting these sort of like robot, like almost like the Mega Man, like like robot overlords or whatever. Especially from the
I
OP.
also one thing I would like to add is that despite obviously this series kind of getting a boost in evaluation or it not having it's harder to sort of give this series a bad grade because it's so obviously supposed to be super corny and having some serious interconnected story that all does make sense and blah 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 is not the point of this story clearly to begin with, especially when they started out this entire project by being like, yeah, this series is pretty much just a flex art 3D CG muscle thing. But um what was surprising to me was that after Bravern came down, I guess spoiler alert, but after Bravern came down and Isamiya did some adventures or had a 1 or 2 episodes, there was also that thing where Isami and the relationship, obviously, as you said, Isami coming to grips with how to be a hero and him reacting much more differently to with Smith, right? In some scenes. That was not something I had expected. And I was and in my opinion, I thought that was much more interesting and much more of a unique variant that was still relatively organic compared to some of the other stuff that I've seen with similar structure, right? Because a lot of times these MCs to get it, they once they get into these mechs and they go through these stories, they go through a very standard emotional evolution of what if I can't do it? And they have like one or two episodes where they become a little bit moody and they're just like, oh, I can't do it. Oh, they're in the cockpit and everything's failing. And then they have the episode where and then they have the moment where it's just like, no, I can't do it, blah, blah. But there's not much in between other than that. And that makes it kind of flat. But I'm glad that there was a lot more uh, development, especially outside of the battle scenes, for the main characters in Bravern than I had expected, and that was a very welcome change, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think what we do have coming up is I think I mean obviously Lulu is like related to the villains in some way. So it's kind of like to be seen what role she plays, because she is like attached at the hip with Smith. Smith in the OP, there is like a weird sort of like angel mech that he's like raising his hand towards. So I'm wondering if he's going to get on like his almost like his own through Lulu, like his own mech.
Mhm.
Um, there's also like a shot of her with like some weird necklace. So obviously like, there's a lot of foreshadowing going on of like or anticipation of like what is going to be sort of like the penultimate thing for Smith. Um, but overall, like I said, like the story, I would describe it as like it's more of it's more like a movie than it is like a sort of series, I feel like if that makes sense in like pacing.
Yeah.
Um where it's like, it's kind of just throwing you into the world, the plot, and then it's kind of just pretty evenly paced, like keeping up with progressing through the story. And this is also a 12 episode series, so I think I'm not sure if this is gonna finish in 12 episodes and if they plan on doing like a second core or something. I mean, at least on Mall it
I
says
feel like
12 episodes as
they'd
well.
have
So
to. It would be best, and not best for the story, but it'd probably be best for the project that they finish it in 12 episodes, right? Because again, this is not tied to a franchise or anything. They are literally this is again
I mean,
this is proof of concept stuff.
I just don't know how, considering like by episode 6, they haven't even finished liberating Japan yet. Like where they're gonna go from here, right? That's why
Yeah.
like because like the OP, like I said, the OP shows like 6 or 7 robot lord silhouettes or whatever, and we've met one.
Yeah.
It's episode 6, so it's like I don't know. Like obviously they could like start really picking up the pace. But it's definitely to be seen as to like how they do that.
Uh, yeah.
But
So
but
can
Dark,
we?
do you believe there will be a Gatai scene? They have all those robots, right? Why don't they Gatai? They
Because they're
have to.
evil. Maybe the
They
evil one.
have to.
Um,
So
but yeah,
can we?
beyond.
Yeah. Can we go into maybe? Oh wait, were you?
I was just gonna
Sorry.
say
You want?
beyond the story. I guess to talk about what Cygames is doing with this, and this being like a
Yes.
proof of concept for CG.
Yes.
Huh.
Sorry. Did you? I think you. Your mic. Something happened with your mic here.
Oh yeah, my Nvidia broadcast broke. 1 second.
I'm just saying, if you have all those robots and they don't combine it in any way, that's a huge wasted opportunity.
Yeah, they probably, I think, in the last 2 episodes or so, maybe in the last episode, they'll probably merge. There will probably be some sort of merge, I think. This
Because
series is too corny to not do that, I think.
or at least if they don't combine into if they don't combine with Bravern, they should Gatai with themselves because even in Galgaigar, the lesser robots they fuse together. Why not?
Dude, I literally
Yeah,
I have no idea what just happened. I think the audio, I think our volume just changed because I like touched my microphone and it unplugged.
but is it okay now, though?
I
But,
mean, it's loud for me. I don't know about the stream. I'm checking right now. It sounds like okay on stream.
yeah. Okay, well, we'll just continue then,
Yeah, I
but
mean, I'll
I
just have to
think
deal with it,
yeah,
more or less.
yeah. But, you were talking about that this was essentially announced as a proof of concept on whether side games could deliver on
On
their
like a
with their
lot of
in-house
CG, heavy CG, I
3D
believe.
CG. Yeah.
Right. So
And what is
the
your verdict?
I think they do.
Yeah.
I think they do a really good
I saw it.
job.
It
Yeah.
for
Um,
what it is, it looks all right. It's not.
the
Could still be some work, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean, sure, but I think they're kind of a cut above most. I think their
yeah.
blending is kind of the most impressive thing to me. I think they do a really good
Mhm.
job with how their CG is blended. I think the sort of biggest thing that I would say is the opening, or not the opening, the PV was not a looker, right? That scene was really not a
Yeah.
looker, and it's weird. Like, I guess maybe they wanted to like keep it under wraps or whatever, but like the fact that like this part like wasn't front and center with like Bravern and the other robots fighting and stuff in some of the Japan scenes. Bit of a shame because I think their CG blending is very, very nice.
Mm.
Um Obviously you still tell it's CG, but you know, I think it looks good. I don't think it looks very rough. Some of the animations obviously they could use a little bit of work.
I
But I
kind of
think
don't like
they're
how thick the lines are in the CG.
yeah, I mean, it's
It
definitely
looks a
is
bit jarring compared to the 2D because the 2D has pretty thin lines, but then the CG happens and the lines are like super fucking thick.
yeah. It's just I think they're what would you call it? I guess you would say they're shaders. I think their shaders like for the CG itself do like I don't think like when you see ugly CG, I think one of the first like one of the most jarring things about it is usually like the um the textures they use for the actual CG models is usually like either too detailed or doesn't really match the any sort of like anime like shading or something like that. And I think they do a pretty decent job here. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think it looks good. Uh, and yeah, overall, I think it's solid. I think it's a good showing, especially with
Yeah.
like the potential to see, you know, if they're gonna do like smaller bits, a show with like less CG, their use of CG, I'd be more confident in that.
Yeah, I think they did obviously a pretty solid job in this project, and I liked also how the script slash storyboard team was also actually putting in some non-insignificant amount of effort to make the story while being corny somewhat sensible. You know what I mean? Which is again a little bit unexpected for this, but it created a nice synergy with what was going on here to give us a good old corny, romping good time.
Speaking
Right.
of a good time, talk about the opening and ending.
I like them. I think the OP is very fun. It's got a very nice ballad. very cheesy. It's not like, visually it's not like there's a ton going on, but the song is very, very fun. The ED is insane. An insane person made the ED. And it's very gotchy things going on. It's like another, like, what would you call it? Like, I guess it's another ballad essentially between Isami and Smith. And for some reason they're like taking their shirts off in the rain. It gets very gay. But it's a lot of fun, which also I guess to say as well, this series, like, while it has a lot of that, it also does have a very good amount of like girls too, especially
Yeah,
when
yeah,
they like meet up with the second group in episode 6. Like, so everyone's got a little bit of something going on.
yeah. All right. Okay, so any, I guess, last words on the series, and what would you rate it?
I would just highly recommend checking it out. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's just going to be a very, very fun series to go through. And
Mhm.
I would probably give it like an 8 out of 10. I don't think this is going to. This will probably make, like, I mean, obviously, we're only 2 months into the year. Not even, but like, not even, a full season done. But this is definitely going to be a contender for like pleasant surprise.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's not gonna be like my favorite of the year or anything. I don't
Yeah,
think. If it did, then this year would be
would be pretty bad. Yeah,
dire. This would be a dire year.
yeah,
Not that I don't like
yeah,
this, but
yeah.
but this is something I would like. I would personally give like an 8 or something, right? Like,
Yeah, me too. I'd be very surprised. Again, it knows where its lane is, and not only does it do it quite well, but it also tries to go above and beyond, pretty
right.
decently. So, yeah. All right. So, all right, and that was again, Bang Brave Bang Braver. Sorry for mispronounce or yeah, not being able to pronounce this or say the title like
Unrelated
any.
to Bang Dream.
Yes,
Yeah.
not idols. So this is again Bang Brave Burn, also known as Yuki Bakatsuban Brave Ban. So this is an anime original done by Cygames, pretty much all in house, I think. Animated by Cygames Pictures, done with the 3D CG in house. They wanted to see how it would roll, and obviously, it turned out pretty freaking successfully. So, please do check it out. Again, note that this is a very corny, very cheesy. Just they threw all in terms of at least the story and the settings of the design, stuff like that. They just threw everything at the wall. They threw everything at the wall. So, please do check it out if you like this sort of stuff.